Some advice I would give to people is to subscribe to Strictly VC. It's a great newsletter. It just talks about all the fundraising that happened in the last 24 hours. And if you're into the whole startup scene, it's good to kind of see what other ideas are popping out. It might give you an idea and you might have a way to do it even better. I think that's a really great newsletter to keep people informed of all the fundraising that's happening. And college grad looking for a job, maybe a Series A or Series B is too early, but Series C, the startup's pretty de-risked at that point. And if you're following Strictly VC and you see that they raised their C round, guess what they're going to do with that money? They're going to hire people. So
Yep.
if you reach out to them and say, hey, congratulations on the raise. I've been following your company since the Series A or whenever you've been following them. I'm really passionate about this space. I'd love to do anything, mop floors, you let me know. If you reach out to them right after they raise capital and you can get through, you're not really competing with that many people. If you wait until the job is posted on LinkedIn, you're competing with like 20 to 50,000 people. And how do you stand out when you're competing against that many people? Just a little advice I like to give to people.
That's a gem of a tip, a gem of a job hunting tip. I actually did something similar. I tried something similar before, but you just made me realize it didn't work for me. The reason it didn't work for me is because, like you just said, uh, I would only I would only reach out to these Series C companies who raise money, who have a job post opening on their website.
Yeah.
That's the mistake. That's the mistake I made.
Yeah, it's so funny too, because I've talked to so many people about this and they're like, you know what? I never thought of it that way. And it's just a little secret I try to tell as many people as I can. It's helped a lot of people. I think another thing that would really help a lot of people is, some people are like, okay, I want to get involved in startups, so I'm going to go meet a bunch of founders. I would encourage them to meet as many investors as possible. Even if you don't want to be in VC, even if you don't, you know, want to invest, you're just looking for a job, I would meet portfolio managers because these portfolio managers have a whole portfolio of companies. And guess what? They're always hiring. They're always looking for great people. And if you can get in front of these portfolio managers, there's opportunity all over the place. And that's why, a lot of interns that work for us, they get jobs because they come to our events, they meet a bunch of family offices and VCs and founders, and somebody's looking for them. It's a lot of it just being in the right place at the right time. And that place is Silicon Valley, and the time is always now.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. I've actually thought of a similar strategy as well. A previous company I worked for, the founders, I checked to see who the investors were, and I reached out to some of the companies and said, "Hey, I used to, or I currently work with, or I used to work with one of the companies in the same portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Would love to connect."
Yeah. There's all kinds of little ways to connect. The main thing is that you're just doing it. And look, if people don't respond, then it is what it is. You're going to find people that do respond. And it's just important to nourish those relationships. Your relationships are either decaying, they're going sideways, or they're getting stronger. I think nothing else a relationship could do. And, you just got to be mindful of your time and who you're working with. But people like making money with their friends. And, if you're not a friend, then it's hard to get involved in a lot of these conversations. And if you have a lot of friends that are portfolio managers and stuff like that, and you keep up with them, I mean, you're going to hear about all kinds of opportunity.
Yeah, because in that case, you only have to invest in one relationship that will open up 50 doors for you.
That's correct.
That's
That's
that
correct.
that's a bit of a growth hack tip for I guess finding opportunities.
It really is. I mean, I've had previous coworkers come to our events and get jobs just because they were there and interested, and it wasn't even that they were interested in the company. They're just like, yeah, I'm interested in startups. I used to work with Ryan. And they're like, oh, okay. What were you doing? Oh, well, Ryan was investing in the startups and I was helping him find companies and set up meetings and all this other kind of stuff. And they're going, great. I got a portfolio company. We're looking for someone to do investor relations, talk to investors. You've already, talked to all the startups and investors that Ryan's been talking to. Here you go. And that's a lot of Silicon Valley. Your network really is your net worth at the end of the day. And I think people should be, working on making their network stronger and, just building relationships.
Amazing. Last week, actually, I had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, he went to the same business school and he graduated just like 2 months ago.
Hmm.
And he asked me for tips on finding his next job.
Hmm.
And my number one piece of advice was stop applying for jobs.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to do what everyone else is doing. Don't be average. If the average person is looking for jobs on LinkedIn, then you can kind of tell that that's not the right idea. Another thing that helped me tremendously is that I had a career portfolio. And, I graduated from San Jose State. I did graduate from the Honors Academy, but my first job out of college was at Morgan Stanley on Sand Hill Road. And people were like, how'd you get that job if you're competing against the guys from Stanford, Harvard, all these Ivy League colleges? And I don't really know the answer, to be fully transparent, but I think a lot of it has to do with I had a career portfolio and all these guys were interviewing with a resume. And, I'm sure they answered the questions well and they prepared for them. But when you have a career portfolio, which is basically just like a leather bound binder with some plastic sleeves in it, and you just put in a bunch of stuff that you've done throughout your life. So I had, some of the stuff did in hockey. I had some of the stuff I did in track and field when I was in high school. I had my business and a bunch of different pictures of me operating the business. I had an intern with the FBI. I showed a bunch of different certificates that I had either earned or won. And it wasn't to just go in there and be like, oh, look at all this great stuff that I've accomplished. In fact, most people that interviewed me only got to see maybe a few pages of the career portfolio. But what it's used for is when they ask you a generic question like, when have you worked with a team and there was a conflict? How did you resolve it? Right? Everyone just jumps into their memorized answer, right? But if you have a career portfolio, you can actually show an example of a time that you worked with a team and how you resolved the conflict, and you can show them pictures. And showing them pictures of your career portfolio it just says that you're not BSing the answer. Where even if you're telling the truth and it's a rehearsed answer, if you're the interviewer, how do you know if the person's telling you the truth or not? You just met them for like 2 minutes. So I think it was the career portfolios how I was able to outcompete all these other Ivy League students that were competing for the same job.
Amazing, amazing. It's very timely that you shared these three job hunting tips. You know, find Series C companies, reach out to them early, build relationships with them early, to connect with investors because they're connected with 50. They can get you into 50 other doors.
Mm.
And then this career portfolio concept I actually haven't heard of before, but but it's timely that you share these three tips because um, from what I've heard, the job market is pretty tough right now, but it's particularly tough for new grads. For new grads, it's
Mm-hmm.
apparently very tough. I saw a chart that showed that for new grads, the job market right now is as bad as it was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So for any recent grads listening, I hope those three tips from Ryan helped.
Yeah, hopefully. Trying to think of any other interviewing tips or job hunting tips. Yeah, I think portfolio managers, family offices, they can connect you to a lot of people. Oh, here's a really good one. Go to as many events that you can go to, especially if they're free, and meet the event organizer. When I go to events in Silicon Valley, that's the first person I always talk to. If I don't know them already, I'll let them know exactly kind of who I am and what I'm looking for so they can make introductions for me. If they do know me, I'll update them on kind of what deals we're working on and different stuff that we're working on so that he could evangelize what we're doing. And I found that to be extremely helpful as well.